Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show, everyone.
As usual, we're laughing already. And this laughing is not like ha ha fun laughing. This is like, are you? Oh, I stopped myself. See, I started it, but I stopped myself.
Dana, your self-control just it like really is built over time, like since we've been together.
You know how I'm coping. We bought something, and I'm going to get political. We bought something called the Damn It doll. Maybe people know what this is or not. It's a stuffed toy basically that looks like our president, and then it comes with a box of pins. It's like voodoo kind of thing. But we just give it to our dog every once in a while, and she runs around with it, biting it. And I'm really annoyed at who. I pick it up and I hit it really hard against our fireplace mantle. Just to cope. So we were talking about.
By the way, you guys were warned. Dana said she was about to get political, so if that was not good for you, and you didn't tune off, we're sorry, but this is the way things.
Here,
we're going to be authentic here.
Yeah, and total context here to give what's ponds I've been swimming in. I have one chapter to go in Virginia. I'm not going to say it right. Griffey. I always say Griffey, but I know that's not the right word. One of the Epstein survivors book, the one who ended up taking her own life about a little over a year ago. And so interestingly, so it's taken me 2 months to read because I only read it while I'm on the toilet, and your brain can do the rest. And I just think it's apropos. That's the only time I read like two chapters. Like this is the only way I'm going to read this book. Right. Hitting the Damn It doll on that and reading this book on the toilet. So there's that. There's all the Epstein's file stuff. And then there's the Olympics and the men's hockey team. It just feels like us women are just getting our noses rubbed in the misogyny that's always there. But in a good way, though, now people are calling them out on it.
Yeah.
Right. I have such hope for people that are your daughter's age, my students' age. Yeah. They get it, right? Yeah. You don't have to sit them down and describe it to them and what's going on, and they're just get it. They understand that.
Yeah.
I can go in there and say to my students, "Oh my God, the men's hockey," and we don't even need to speak past that. All of them are like, "Oh my God," I don't have to explain it. But this sense of sexism permeates everything, even in our world, right? So we've done episodes on how autism and even ADHD look different in girls and women, right? Mm-hmm. All the literature is showing that. I mean, if you want to read stuff about this, go on my website, theawakeproject.org, and every source material I've ever used is in there, archived in there. And there's that evidence base now, we'd say, right? That women look different. There's just basically the whole masking idea. And I love this. I was invited to just join a 1-hour panel for a organization in Canada. They're called AIDE, AIDE, just like it sounds. And I think it's like Canada's good version of Autism Speaks. So like when I got this invitation through my work email, this person had found me, and I'm like, all right, so I don't want to get pulled into something that is not going to be okay. And they want us to come in, me and 2 other people, to talk about why women get missed in assessment. Well, I'm like, great. I'd love to belong, even if I only have like 5 slides and 15 minutes to talk on my own, great. So they're getting it, right? And then I hear from my students, someone who's supervising them doing these assessments in our school clinic, who is the old stereotypes. This person has a job, was one of them. They make eye contact. They can describe their own feelings. These are all things that were tick marks for her that were not autistic.
Against. And not only not autistic, but like against being autistic.
Against it. Yeah, exactly.
Like it's not even like, right? It's like, oh, because you can't. because you can make eye contact, because
exactly.
you have a job, because you have a relationship. You
Right.
can't
Yeah.
be
And
autistic.
I said, does this person know that I'm your professor? And do they, and it was a couple students who are themselves neurodiverse. And so these flippant sort of remarks that supervisor would make, she didn't know, but were hitting her. You know, it sort of is that idea of when you say derogatory things, isms, racism, sexism, classism, all these isms, if you say them in a group of people, even if they're aligning with you in that ism, there's always going to be people in there that are like, oh, now I don't dare let this part of me out. I don't, you know how that person feels about you with that variable, if you will, right? And I just lost it, right? So I was like, okay, I'm glad you're coming to talk to me about this. And I let our training director know and the person who heads up assessment at the school, and they're on it, which is awesome, which is good because from 3-4 years ago when I first started Awake and I started to talk about this stuff, there was a lot of that I have to teach you stuff, right? And they just hearing what had happened from me and some of those students, they were like, oh, this is bad. We need to intervene immediately, which is awesome, right? And then between that and the talk that I'm invited to do in March, I can sort of sit down and give you an elevator speech about how women are different than men. And that's not to say that all men present the same way either. So we could say a lot of people are missed. And it is what we've talked about, masking. But more importantly, the assessment measures that are used now are for kids, for diagnosing children. So it's all behavioral observation by the assessor, by like the parents' work you do and people in the school. There's very little interviewing a 3-year-old, right? I mean, you can interview them and maybe spend some time with them, but with women, it's an internal experience you have to get into. And you have to have things that assess degree of masking. And you kind of have to know what questions to ask, right?
Yeah.
So yes, oh, that was the other one. This person socializes. Okay, so that person can go out and choose to do a certain amount of socializing, and they can do it. Doesn't mean they're not autistic. I know to ask the question, what kind of hit do you take energetically after something like that? Oh, I do it on a Friday night and I'm laid out the whole weekend. And that's not something that traditional measures ask, right? So it really is like my analogy for this has been someone who is an expert in doing, my hand doctor, who's awesome, doing surgery on a hand, is now asked to go in and perform brain surgery. Are they both doctors? Are they both MDs? Yes, they know anatomy and all that, but that's ridiculous. You wouldn't have them do that, right? And so to me, it's like this working outside their depth. And it's this huge piece of sexism in our world of us talking about that sort of thing, right? Um, the gender piece certainly comes in terms of, and the students all know this, you do tend to see a lot more genderqueer and trans folks in the neurodivergent population. We don't know why exactly, other than that probably is just rejection of traditional gender norms, right? But that idea of someone in power, someone who holds the privilege, saying, you know, I'm in my ivory tower and I'm the expert and I say this is the way it is. It's sort of like that hockey thing. For those of you that haven't watched the Olympics, the US women won against Canada, and then the US men won against Canada. We were rooting for the Canadian men, by the way. And and they got a call from you know who, my damn it doll, in the middle of that, and sort of aligned with and went along with some disparaging sexist things that he had said about, well, now I have to invite the women's team and so on. And they're not going, by the way, just if you don't follow this sort of stuff. But to me, it's this implicit bias is just over and over and over and over, right? That idea of the assumption of one thing when it actually is something else, and not taking the time to know it's something else so that you know how to measure it differently, right? And that's where I got upset around having to train someone else. This isn't like a 3-hour seminar where you train someone to do assessment on autistic adults. It'd be like me going to a school. I don't do the school stuff and that all the stuff that you do. I would have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm a licensed psychologist. So I could go in there and meet with a kid technically and write something up, and I'm not breaking the law. Now, what I am doing is I'm doing something highly unethical. I mean, the ethics code talks about what is the limits of your competence.
Mm-hmm.
What are you competent to do? And you shouldn't be working outside that competent area. Now, with the sexism thing and with like the isms of neurodiversity, that there's a subtle idea of the power and privilege is neurotypicals, obviously, but there's also like the petting of the head. Oh, poor dears, you can't work or you can't have a relationship, which is ridiculous. Some people do struggle with that more than others, but as a stereotype for all of us. And then it forecloses on folks that could get there and need the support to get there. And then you're not giving them the support, right? It forecloses on that. So I believe in a society where we give people what they need to function in a way that works for them to where they feel good, right? So for some people, that isn't full-time work. It might be part-time work. It might be contract work. It could be whatever, right? Relationships, everything that sort of aligns, and we've talked so much about with neurodivergent folks. I always hear your voice in my head about presumed competence, right? That is such a good guiding line, because it really, if you come at it with that idea into an assessment, you're automatically sort of lifting that person up to where you are, and you're not doing that, oh, I'm going to observe you and say what's wrong with you, right? You can't do this. You may have to do it differently, right? There's a great commercial on. It's annoying me that it's commercials on over and over again. I've almost memorized it. A channel I watch recently changed how they pay for things, so they have like the same 7 commercials over and over. But there's one really good one that's a national dance group, and they promote dance in folks that are disabled in some way, like people that use wheelchairs, people that have other disabilities. And they're like, we don't typically get included because they say we're different or we can't do it or whatever. And we're all about doing it the way we can with what we have, with what our bodies can do. And then having that meet that. My long roundabout way of talking about sexism as well is that it creates these rigid rules and boxes around that. And that's one part of it. The dangerous part of it, though, is the people that are in the positions of privilege having those blind spots and thinking they're just can go, ting, here's the deal with you and be done with you. The harm that ensues, the hurt that they create. And this same, I heard from the students, the same supervisor said, oh yeah, I've given feedback to a lot of people and they cry because I tell them they're not autistic. I'm just like, oh my God. It's what you and I, it's one of the reasons we do this podcast, right? Is to get that information out there. To constantly battle against the tides of where the power is versus where it isn't, right?
Yeah. I mean, if we stepped back and we said, why does sexism or gender differences, why does that even make a difference in diagnosis, in treatment, support? It's that people come in with preconceived notions about the way women, quote unquote, should act and should be. And they use that frame to think about, the diagnosis, right? And to your point, when we're talking about later diagnosed people who are diagnosed later in their life, and I mean not in childhood, right?
Yeah.
What happens then is people say, oh, you know what? You did fine in school.
Yeah.
Well, and fine is a whole nother word, right? Because to your point, what did it cost you energetically to do school?
Okay. Fine, do a little side, like the drug commercials. Fine refers to effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Yeah, where the side effects are like way longer than the benefits,
right?
Kind of situation, right? But the reason why this makes a difference is because, and this is why I think presuming competence, and I see this a lot in my non-speaking clients or anyone that's kind of struggling even with like dyspraxia, motor problems, they may not be able to execute kind of what they can think about, right? But when you just treat them like any other person, like a human being, like just like a human being,
right,
you don't then limit the way you get information, how you get information, what information you get, right? And so it's really important actually to talk about gender differences, because women really, especially when we're talking about the autism, like the autism, right? It is, women are typically underdiagnosed. I mean, much more than men. And the emotional burden that we see in the form of burnout, depression is huge. And by the time we get to diagnose a woman who hasn't been diagnosed with autism before, okay, it's like serious.
Yeah. And you have to know what to ask and what to look for. It's if you're uninformed, you're going to do damage, basically, right? And so it is with that mindset, that dominant idea mindset, and then applying it to a target rank folks, and it perpetuates the harm. You really are doing it's crazy. And if that were me and I got assessed and told all those things, I would never go for an assessment ever again anywhere. That would be it.
I wouldn't trust. I also wouldn't trust professionals. Because the other piece here, and for those of you who are listening to this and are like, I've had some really negative experiences with psychologists, diagnosticians, doctors, etc. What we're really looking for is neuroaffirming care. That's really what we're looking for. And what is neuroaffirming care? It's providers who are willing to act or practice dimensionally versus categorically, right? And so a lot of times, because we are stuck in this systemic biomedical model that really is either you are or you aren't, right? This is what happens, right, in diagnosis. What you really want to find is a professional who's willing to listen to your lived experiences and willing to hear how life has been for you. Not someone who's going to be like, I'm just going to do an ADOS. Wait, an ADOS is only for children, so maybe I'll just ask you some questions from it. It's like ridiculous. Like the ADI, the ADOS, like, this is something that, if you're an adult or you are someone who's been told, hey, no, you just don't meet the criteria for autism. You just don't. And you're just like, what? It just, everything I'm seeing though resonates with me. It really why am I having this trouble? Like, why? I would tell you to find Dana. No, just kidding. I would tell you to find you want a neuroaffirming provider. We don't have the definition of what that means, unfortunately. And so that's why Dana and I also do this podcast, which is what does neuroaffirming care look like? Even Dana, who's in a grad program, who's training the future psychologists. Right?
Exactly.
Her program even struggles with neuroaffirming care.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, the students that I have that are neurodivergent themselves, I think, are trying to do that. But the program itself is not keyed into that part of the diversity spectrum. We watched the Olympics. We're total Olympic nerds, so we've watched a lot of it. So I'm still in that space. When they did the opening ceremony, and the one woman who had been an Olympian, I blanked on her name, was giving her speech, and they were talking a lot about diversity and welcoming all these various forms of it. And it says all of the, different skin color, different culture, different gender, and then they always leave out disability.
Always.
I mean, because there are people that were competing. Alyssa Liu is ADHD, the woman that won gold for the figure skating, right? So there is neurodiversity there. It's not physically viewable for the Paralympics, but she left out. I'm like, it's always the one that's left out, right?
Yes, and by the way, the largest the biggest minority that exists on the planet are disabled people. By the way.
Wow.
Okay, so
Yeah,
And
what the hell?
there's lots of things that fall under the disabled umbrella. Okay.
Yes.
So this is probably why, but really what we're talking about is the invisible, the hidden, quote unquote, hidden disabilities that you don't see. And clearly we've got Paralympics, but hello, that's kind of clear.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Alyssa Liu story because she walked away from figure skating for 2 years because she was burnt out. I mean, she describes what happened, and she didn't get to control anything. She couldn't pick her own music. She couldn't pick what she did. And if you watched her gold medal round, that was all her. I mean, she was so excited. It was awesome, right? That's how it could be if you have that similar structure. But the bias is so automatic. I have a friend of mine who posted something on Facebook, and I love her. She is one of those people that if you call her on something because she's straight and white, she's sort of like we are, like, oh, thank you for showing me that, I want to grow. But she had mentioned something about setting up a medical appointment, and the person asking about it asked if she had any, it wasn't even disability, he asked about, mobility issues. And her post was like, it was because we're getting older. And how dare he ask me that just because I'm 60, whatever. And I responded to it and I said, I get it. I get where you're coming from. But when you assume that a mobility issue is something bad because you're aging, is something bad because you're losing that, coming at it from that bad mindset is a bias, right? Oh, I have to work to not do this because it's a terrible thing. How about honoring where you're at as a human? And it doesn't mean you have to be rejected or it be something bad. That's what we mean by implicit bias. It's so automatic. It's so sort of, you can't tell where all the roots are because they're all intertwined, and you try to get in there and figure out which root is this. That's how we grew up in the society, though, all those isms, and sexism is certainly one of those things.
Oh yeah.
Disabilityism is a huge one that we've talked about a lot on the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think for, our main goal, I mean, every episode that we do on this podcast is to try to either increase awareness in some way, promote acceptance in some way, right? Mm-hmm. But it is to just have a just kind of real conversation about the things that are actually like happening in our community, right? And so like if you are someone, I think for me the main takeaway of this is like to encourage you, if you're struggling and you're a woman, or even if you're a man that's like, I've been told multiple times that I am not X,
you're
whatever.
not the stereotypical male presentation. So
right. And you're like, it just doesn't resonate with me. It does not feel right to me. I would tell you not to stop, to find somebody. Like seriously. Find a neuro-affirming provider. The
most common response I get to assessing folks when they get it's a lengthy report, is it's like you were following me around in my head and described it all. How did you know? And I'm like, well, you took those assessments and you answered my questions because I knew which ones to ask. Yeah. Exactly.
So, again, I'm not kidding when I say, find Dana if you like, but
I am booking until August, but I think I had one cancellation in June somewhere there. I think.
Yeah, for sure. All right, everyone. Be good to you and be good to others. And we will catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.